this is the truth. On the day that it's revealed that Leon Brittan was accused of raping children, we ask, is the establishment riddled with paedophiles and sex criminals? This is the truth. Subscribe here.
We know people in Westminster 3 decades ago were sexually abusing youngsters.
I would like to make a statement about the sexual abuse of children. Allegations that evidence of the sexual abuse of children was suppressed by people in positions of power.
The accusation itself was brought to public attention by MP Tom Watson. He said he spoke to 2 people who claimed they were abused by the Conservative peer, including a witness known as Nick, who has allegedly been attacked more than a dozen times as a boy and seen the politician assault others. There are apparently other witnesses who wouldn't be reliable in a witness box because they seem to be sort of like traumatised, almost like something really bad happened to them when they were children. You're not a reliable witness, look at you. You're jittery, you're on drugs, you've become a sex worker. Very suspicious.
First, that in the 1980s, the Home Office failed to act on allegations of child sex abuse. And second, that public bodies and other important institutions have failed to take seriously their duty of care towards children. As I do so, I want to set 3 important principles.
Well, we can trust this person to set out important principles. This is a member of the Tory government. One thing that Watson said about Leon Brittan is, it's not for me to judge whether the claims made against Brittan are true. It's for the police to investigate these claims as they continue to do so, but I believe the people I've spoken to are sincere. Well, I think it is for me to judge. I think the claims are true. If you get 4 people making these allegations, 2 of them a little bit jittery because they've had lives of abuse, continual claims that the care homes, the most vulnerable people in Britain, the most vulnerable children in Britain, were exploited as a resource by powerful establishment figures, the same names cropping up time and time again, people at the heart of government, the heart of the establishment, even members of the aristocracy and royal family itself. Seems like there's something in it.
First, we will do everything we can to allow the full investigation of child abuse.
Yeah, everything we can. Oh, except there's like these files that are shut till 2056. Like, look, there's these files where you can't, look, allegations of buggery, impersonation of a police officer. The files can't be released for 87 years. This is on public records, you can check this. What could be in these files that's so disturbing that you're not allowed to look at it until you're really, really old? Right, now that you're really, really old and you don't care and you're living in a dystopian future where you're just living on powder because society's been destroyed, guess what? All them MPs, they was having it off with kids. Oh, there's nothing I do about it now. I'm floating along on an iceberg with a polar bear.
And the prosecution of its perpetrators. And we will do nothing to jeopardise those aims.
Nothing except with losing files, suppressing files, and we're paedophiles.
Second, where possible, the government will adopt a presumption of maximum transparency.
Makes you wonder why the House of Commons was so sparsely attended for this particular debate. Where are all the others? We could come to this debate for whether or not there's high-level corruption for MPs and members of the establishment having sex with children, but, you know, gotta have a hobby.
I'm absolutely determined that we're going to get to the bottom of these allegations and we're going to leave no stone unturned.
So we're going to leave some stones unturned for 50 years and suppress files. We know of at least 2 situations where the state stepped in to prevent justice being pursued. For example, Special Branch suppressed a criminal inquiry into Cyril Smith. That's proven. There was a state interference with a witness for a case brought against Jeremy Thorpe, who was an MP, like, 20 years ago or something. One of Margaret Thatcher, remember her? One of the police close protection officers has publicly said he warned her about investigations into one of her MPs. So there it is. We know that Margaret Thatcher knew about it. If we know that about her now, what can we suspect about the people that currently govern us?
Just days ago, police said claims that a ring of prominent politicians and others abused and terrorised, even murdered children here were credible. And today it's emerged that an MP has handed officers allegations about 6 sitting parliamentarians.
The Home Secretary announced a new chair of the Child Sex Abuse Inquiry this week. Previously, this inquiry has been beset with problems because Inquiry Chair Fiona Woolf, the last one they had, resigned from her position after concerns were voiced over her links to former Home Secretary Leon Brittan. They keep putting people in charge of the inquiry that've got links to paedophiles. OK, who's best to look into whether or not there are paedophiles in the establishment? Could we get someone who's not a paedophile? It's going to be difficult round here.
It was the year after Margaret Thatcher had swept to power.
Where there is error, may we bring truth.
And where there are paedophiles, may we bring cover-ups.
It's highly likely she saw the contents. Documents prepared for the Prime Minister about the sexual practices of somebody of note. 35 years on, it's still classified on grounds of national security.
When they say grounds of national security, what they mean is if you found this stuff out, you'd be so outraged you would overthrow the government, you would refuse to cooperate, you would walk out of your job, you would be so despondent and disgusted, you'd demand an entirely new system. And that'd be a shame because in all other areas, our governments are doing really, really well and have proven themselves to be trustworthy. It's just the kid fucking, really.
The file is held by officials based here at the Cabinet Office on Whitehall. They've confirmed to us that it still exists. They've also confirmed to us that it is still too sensitive to release.
Bit sensitive, that makes us look bad because of the old paedophilia.
But they have made this promise that any document that may be relevant will be released to the inquiry into historical child sex abuse.
Historical child sex abuse? What about child sex abuse that's going on now? I don't know about, like, Harold and William the Conqueror were buggering about with page boys on the Bayeux Tapestry. I want to know about things that's been going on in my lifetime, but people have been putting people in prison, breaking up society, profiting from selling institutions, telling us that we're amoral and that the disabled people don't deserve benefits. When they're on their hobbies, they're going into child care homes and knocking off kiddies.
Just last November, these men published their report that searched for government files that may be relevant. The chief executive of the NSPCC has today said this specific file was not revealed by any department.
So it's clear that administration and bureaucracy is being used to cover up the truth. But just to give you clarity around Leon Britton, who died last week, to be legally sensible, I should say these are allegations against Leon Britton. He was a member of a Westminster paedophile network. 2 unidentified men murdered a child in front of him during a physical beating following a sexual abuse in or around the early 80s. That's what's being investigated currently. But there are many other establishment figures implicated in this. Did you know too that the way the establishment works in protecting itself extends to legal powers granted to the royals that we don't ever hear about? We recently heard that the Queen and Prince Charles's secretive power over veto over new laws was exposed after Downing Street lost its battle to keep the information about its application secret. So the Queen and Prince Charles can veto our laws. Didn't you think, weren't you always told, it's nice, she's just for the tourists up there in a shiny hat? Oh no, they can veto laws up there. Well, hopefully no members of the royal family then are involved in scandals that would make that beneficial to them. Prince Andrew may have immunity from prosecution of having sex with an underage girl and for his alleged involvement in an international sex trafficking ring because of his relationship to his former pal Jeffrey Epstein. What this all points to is a class of people that are above the law, that live in our country but are above our laws. Establishment figures that behave how they want while condemning us but themselves are exempt from laws and prosecution, being offered immunity from prosecution if they're members of the right family. We know then that there are 4 people that allege that Leon Britton is a child rapist and witnessed a child murder. We know that there are other MPs who have been protected by state intervention. There are rumours and speculation that many, many more MPs are involved. They can't even find someone to chair an inquiry who isn't linked into paedophilia. So what we are living in is an establishment that's rife with corruption on a financial level, but more importantly than that, on a sexual level, on the most basic taboos of our culture. How can we trust these people? How can we vote for them? How can we not instigate massive change now? That's some true news.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Truths is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some truths. Let's have some truths.